activist teachers.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of examples in the United States, and so one of the things I'm always trying to bring is, like I said, it's not whether they're good or bad in Cuba, or not whether they're good or bad in Nicaragua, or not whether they're good or bad, but like there are different ways of teaching. You don't have to check your politics at the door. Now, of course, there's risk-taking involved with that. And for example, in the state of Alabama, you're not allowed to talk about gender and sexuality except in a health class. So, like, you can't talk about that supposedly in a language arts class. And so, if you do, are you taking risks? Are you going to get fired? I think educating yourself and teaching teachers to understand what the laws are. Like, can you be fired for that? If not,
do it.
yeah, like then like start figuring out ways to do it and look for support and join. I'm not saying like I believe in teachers unions, but I'm not going to say like you have to join the teachers union, but like you're probably protected by it whether you're a member or not. So go figure out who will back you up. I think that that's something that's missing in teacher education programs is understanding that they're not just pedagogical and like you are political and you're going to have to take risks. I feel like when I talk about risk taking, even with graduate students, then they're like, you know what, I tried to take a risk. I was going to put the students in these groups and like it totally didn't work. And I'm like, that was not a risk. Like, you're not taking a risk.
Just the grouping was a risk.
Yeah, like whether like it was going to get off topic or something. And I'm like,
That's hysterical.
no, like risk taking is like, are you willing?
But I think you've tapped into what so many teachers would say.
Right.
Like Maddie, you know, that one time she said, and they know that other woman, she said, we tried and it failed.
Yeah,
And it
we
was
tried
like-
it once with our kids, it doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work. And it was something, it was similar to putting in groups, there was other.
Yeah, it was like collaborating
It
in
was,
something.
yeah, collaboration.
Our kids can't collaborate.
Risky stuff.
risky. Well, and the Honduran teachers have shown me, I mean, there's been 17 teachers murdered since 2009, the military coup in 2010. One of them was in his classroom, like someone came in and like shot him with a machine gun. And so, like, they don't care. Like, they're like, you know what, make me more prominent, I don't care. Like, shoot me and good, like, then everybody knows, you know, like, they won't shut up. And I think, like, that's really interesting because, like, even today, like, with, you know, Trump's America or, you know, like that, like, how much am I really willing to risk? Am I going to risk my career? Am I going to risk my house? Like, am I willing to risk, like, my kids not being able to go to college or something, like, because I was to fight with it? Like, where am I drawing these lines and why am I drawing them and what am I scared of? I think we don't even have those conversations, so I don't know what I'm willing to risk or not. I know that, like, for example, when I started graduate school, I wanted to do a dissertation on literacy in Honduras, and everybody told me, how is that relevant? You are never going to get a job. Things like that. Like, and so rather than me thinking about, like, it's too big of a risk, I'm going to, like, go back and observe a third grade classroom and do literacy that way, I thought, you know what, then I just need to justify what I'm doing and how it's important better, you know?
Exactly. I think that's the key there.
Right.
If you have to be able to know your audience, so if the administrator is the one, all he cares about is data, and you want to do something, so then you need to, like, present it in a way that he can digest, right, so that you can still meet your goal without
the data.
Without completely
That's
backing.
interesting. She said,
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
It sounds like you're doing that.
Well, hopefully, we'll see, right? But, you know, even last year when I was, I mean, I was almost done with my dissertation last year, so, like, you know, I'm, like, thinking about applying for jobs, and I'm worried about it, and a couple people, like, I was mowing lawns last summer to make extra money, and I thought, you know what, like, my 3 goals are, I gotta pay for my kids, I do this research project in Honduras, I don't need a job to do that, like, I need money, so, like, I'll mow lawns to do it, and I remember telling my advisor, and she was like, oh my god, but, like, you know what, I am, like, at a point where the risk I will take to continue the research I'm doing is, like, if I don't end up with a job, like, I can do this research mowing lawns, and I'm willing to take that risk and not get a job because of it, or get a job, whatever, but I don't, and I'm in a position where I can do that. My kids are kind of grown up, they're, you know, self-sufficient on their own at home right now.
Sounds like the 12-year-old runs everything.
He does.
Yeah, right.
He's the only one who knows how to write checks, that's for sure. He's the only one I would trust to do it, too. But yeah, I think, you know, being willing to take risks is something that teachers are not taught to do. Not even just in the classroom, but like.
Yeah.
And there are real risks, and I think that it's okay to be scared of them.
Well, and we talked on our ride about how our students won't even take the risk to go teach in Delaware because it's too far from New Jersey, right? So, I mean, just, you know, things like that. It's a culture of staying close.
Yeah, South Jersey's kind of like, they don't go far.
They don't want to go.
Some don't even go across the river in Philadelphia.
Right, yeah.
But I think that's interesting how you want to bring what you've learned about Honduran education and work with people, Honduran communities here in the state.
Yeah, they could be, or even just Latino, like.
Or Latino, doesn't have to be.
Well, and there's a lot, I know this because of Boris. Boris has a lot of family, I mentioned this yesterday, in New Brunswick, New Jersey, all undocumented, like literally all in one apartment. We've been there to visit them, and they're, you know, they've been here for 20 years, like they're not going back to Honduras. And I think like, some of them have kids that, you're here, the anchor babies or whatever,
Right.
that are, you know, growing up here, and they're totally cut off from Honduran culture because of papers. Like their parents can't go back. So Boris has a green card now, and he took one of their kids, like a 5-year-old who was born in the United States, and his parents obviously cannot go back and forth. So he flew to New York once, got this 5-year-old, took him back to Honduras for the summer, and then took him back. And I thought, like, God, there's just no access. Like they might not have internet at home, or it might be difficult to facilitate that. Like the kid doesn't want to be on FaceTime, doesn't want to speak Spanish. Like what if we made this like a thing? Like Spanish is awesome, like your culture's so cool, like I'm sorry you don't have access to go back and forth, but look, like we have this space that you can connect with your family, and your family can connect with your family. It could be cool.
Yeah, it would be validating all of our undocumented aliens living in this country.
All this talk of traveling back and
Yeah.
forth. Remember the times when people would just travel back and forth?
Yeah. Okay.
You can't not travel either, so, but the undocumented immigrants can't travel.
They're just stuck.
They're just stuck.
And they don't want to, I was just talking with Stephanie about that,
Yeah.
because she was saying about her husband's family and immigrants and stuff, and I was saying, like, none of these Hondurans, like, want to stay here. Like, none of Boris's family wants to live here forever, but they're like, oh my God, if I go back to Honduras, like, what if something happens? I never can get back in the United States unless I pay a coyote $6,000. And so they're like, I would go back, but I'm afraid that, you know,
Could
like,
never
what
get
if something
back.
happened? What if
Right.
disaster happened and I can't get back to the United States to make the wages I was?
Yeah, just kind of think about how difficult it might be, like if your home, your culture is there, you're here, you can't go in between.
And your kid is like, never gonna be
And your
Honduran.
children aren't ever learning.
Yeah, they're gonna be US Honduran or whatever, right.
Because that's not valued here.
Which
Generally
also,
speaking.
with my kids, so they're all 3 bilingual, but the 2 white kids who speak Spanish, like, I mean, they speak pretty good Spanish, but like everybody's like, oh my God, like, that's so great, bilingual kids. And Boris is bilingual, but because his accent is in English, everybody's like, oh, but does he speak English?
Yeah, this is what we live every day.
I know, right?
You know, bilingualism is really cognitively, academically, socially, economically great if you speak English already. You
Right.
know, and you
And
you know.
Yeah,
But-
how cool
but
is
if
it
you're
to
white.
speak another language?
Right, but then, you know, you come here as an immigrant not speaking English and we erase.
And you speak like 9 other languages.
Yeah, you speak, yeah. And you've
But do
got.
you speak English yet?
Yeah, exactly.
And without an accent,
You know.
please.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, because I got these 3 kids, I mean, I use them a lot, like, and I actually do in the teaching demonstration, but like when I teach writing assessments, I have writing, you know, samples from them all the time. I'm just constantly using them, like, think what a lab in my own house, like,
That's true.
of these 3 kids, like, I'm always like, oh my God, like, one gets to one point and then the next one comes and it's not gonna be the same, you know, like.
I documented a lot of language development with my child. That's all on film.
You do.
Hey, what's her name? Martin's published a book about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
there's
right.
nothing wrong with it.
Are
We're
they,
the basics, right?
you know, what's your IRB process in the house? I mean, you have.
I'm like, sit down, write this, spell things correctly, put that graphic novel away and get a real book.
Are they comfortable with you sharing their photos?
They don't care. And actually, Boris,
Okay.
I mean, his story, you know, can be a little bit fraught. You know, like it's difficult to talk about,
Right.
you know, this. And I think a lot of times it comes off as like me being this benevolent person. And I talked to him before the presentation. We went out to eat, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to present about you. What do you think about that?" And he was like, "Oh, maybe I'm going to get you a job." You know?
I love it.
Get better.
But we have,
Right.
you know, pretty. I'm not going to say that, you know, the last 7 years or 8 years have been, you know, tear-free, and there hasn't been anger, and there hasn't been problems, and there hasn't been crying, and there hasn't, you know, the first time we ever got in a fight, he was on just like best behavior for like 2 years. You can imagine, like 15 years old, like that's hard, right? He was on best behavior, and we got this huge fight, and after 2 years of me thinking I had been like his parent and trying to make him feel part of this family, he came and he said, "I'm so sorry, you can send me back." That was what his,
Comment.
so he's got that in his head
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
that like, my relationship with him is tenuous. And so it's something that, like, honestly, I said to him, I said, do you remember when you said that? Yeah, I remember. And I said, like,
You
it's
can
something
turn it
that's
on.
difficult for